So welcome back everybody, this is Paul again. Today I'm going to continue a little bit more of my esoteric studies, and we're talking about the beings, the whole subject of the various kinds of beings, of their planetary beings and so on. So I began that in another segment earlier, still got my Nevada t-shirt on here, and I wanted to go into a little more depth here because it's really quite complicated, because basically one phrase I read was the whole universe is just brotherhood. It's sort of a cooperative effort to continuously expand and continuously grow. And it basically is an eternal cycle that keeps going on and on. There's many, many different cycles. So, again, with the theme of oneness that I keep talking about, within that you have a hierarchy of beingness. I didn't put beings, I put beingness. There's sort of frankly, we have to have the energy step down. You take, for example, the sun. The sun emanates a certain radiance, and all the different planets. It's vast. It has a vast, vast beingness, you might say, of creative expression. And the various planets have to absorb that energy, and some of it is sparks, like in the aurora borealis, and it's very powerful. So basically, there's a hierarchy of flow of energy. And the phrase that I brought up in the previous one was involution and evolution. In other words, all the tiniest particles of matter and energy, they start assembling, and that's involution. Getting more and more conscious toward the physical and toward the dense. Various types of forms are needed, various types of objectives, crystals, various kinds of consciousness that is innate. You might call the consciousness of the atom evolves into the consciousness of minerals and so on. And there's underlying type of consciousness, just like we can't see the frequency. We can only see a very narrow range of frequencies. That's just a known fact. And there's just a vast, vast, vast amount of frequency that we don't participate in directly, at least consciously. But the beings that I'm talking about, that I've read about, angels, there's every kind of being is associated with some kind of frequency and frequency band. So that, let's say for example, a human being, we have a bunch of different energies and we harness them, and basically let's say we get ourselves in a rhythm, and we have like a nice flow in our life, and we emanate basically a range of frequencies, but we have like kind of a keynote, maybe each of us. Same way with when energy begins to get more intense and more intense and more harmonized and more assembled, you might say, there are beings associated with frequency bands, which we call planes, and with the various elements. So that depending on the frequency, they might go into the fire type of element, or the earth element, or the water element, or the air element. And underlying that is the ether, the akash, the electric fire. So within each band or plane, there's subplanes of these bands. And you might say, I was saying in the previous video about how you have the colors of devas, or beings that energy that radiates. We don't have to relate to, in terms of relationship with other beings, we can understand that some of the mystics of the past, and they said, use your awareness. You can anthropomorphize, for example, in a god or a deity. You say there's a deity, or you honor a certain being. Let's say, for example, the color green has a certain band of being emanation that is, beautiful and harmonious, and it's a wonderful color. And the plant life of the world is mostly green. So that band has certain kinds of beingness energy that builds bodies and plants and so on. So the beingness, individuality might not be like the way we have individuality. We have individuality, and frankly, a lot of times it's just very scattered. And we defend it all the time. But let's say we grew and became really, really incredibly conscious. We might emanate a very strong, powerful, but very relatively narrow band, like a laser of energy. So basically, the massive energy and awareness, the energy in esoteric teachings, consciousness is associated with energy. So what you have is, by imagining gods and deities, we put our own awareness temporarily into the realm of greater awareness. You might, for a while, maybe identify or feel the presence of angelic beings or some kind of a being that has a more steady, harmonious, beautiful vibration. And there are many yogis and so on, and very loving people that emanate a very, very beautiful energy. So naturally, it's sort of like we're all going to oneness. We're not going to division, so that we're attracted to greater sense of oneness. We are attracted to that beautiful vibration that we find in other beings and people. So people have an association. Like I was saying in a previous video, some people in India, they might just really, really love their cow because they felt like God's inhabiting the cow. The cow gives them food and everything. So in a way, there's a certain reverence. Reverence helps us grow. It's very unfortunate that a lot of these old teachings have gotten so distorted and become like so literal about everything, and people doing some strange stuff regarding worshiping deities. But the thing is that it is normal and okay to have a loving openness to more teaching and to more growth and to more love and to more beauty. So where we find it, if it comes from our dog, we love our dog. But if it comes from another human being, real love. But there are people who, in their silent and quiet moments, they feel a lot of this happening. They feel other beingness radiating. Now, I'll go through a little bit more here. According to the ancient teachings, there are planetary beings, solar beings that basically associate with stars and that type of energy. Planetary beings that might be like, on that concept, they have like they might call a heavenly being or a logos of a planet that on some scale of massive awareness, if that being, if they're suffering on the planet, then that being has, suffering on some cosmic level. It sort of innately yearns and grows towards something better, and that's what the whole universe does. There's sounds and frequencies throughout the universe. These devas, they call them, they radiate, for example, eternal radiances. A deva might be a beam or kind of a being that is like a standing wave in the cosmos of some stupendous power and energy and consciousness that is just like a beacon, like a pulsar or something like a star, something that just radiates eternally. Now, the nice thing about being a human being, and that's the glory of being able to have a human body, is to learn how to use our body so that when we go inside, we just feel the stillness, that there's a porous, you might say, just think of, there's no barrier between our own consciousnness and the infinite awareness that is the subplane of the entire cosmos. In other words, they say God is energy and consciousness is energy. God is a word. I mean, it's too vast to really put a word on anything. So just say, well, there's something. I'm here. I'm here because the oxygen is the great breath of the cosmos. The universe is breathing and singing and spitting out all these things. And basically, the whole idea of life in general is to be of service, to completely grow, take into the breath, exhale to the breath. Take into the breath, exhale to the breath. Learn and grow, teach and expand. That's kind of what the whole cosmos is trying to do here. And I'm not surprised at all that there's many, many other kinds of beings. That I read a book called The Return of the Hierarchy, that a lot of different beings that have been around and associated with this planet for thousands of years have they keep an eye on things, and there's many of them, and basically, apparently, they get together now and then, or they intuitively, there's basically, despite our crazy civilization, our crazy little life, there is consciousness on a vast scale that you might say pools into teachings that pass down through thousands of years to kind of help us get through these cycles and understand our own existence so that we don't get confused and we have a blissful life and we live a long, healthy life. But once we get in tune with ourselves, then we understand that we're linked to everything. Everything is just connected, and we can get more and more understanding from our own experience. And then it starts to make really sense. Oh, see, the universe is so incredible. We're just part of it. I mean, we take our lives for granted. It's magic. And I love sharing little things that I've learned about this. Again, I keep saying to people, look, if you don't have any real feeling of peace and joy in your life, then that's the first priority. But once you get some health and joy in your life, then there's a whole lot of questions that can be discussed and answered. It's very, very interesting. So, again, thanks for your interest, and please like and share. There's some nice feedback. I appreciate the dialogue. I look at many other people's videos, and I'm going to make some more videos relating to a lot of other subjects. It's really quite vast, and please, if you have any questions, ask me questions, and maybe I can start a little video on something that you might be interested in, because I'm just shooting my 2 cents out there, and let's see where we can go with it. Thanks a lot for watching.